Hi, welcome back to the Agile Scrum Master Training section. This is Brian, the accredited trainer of Exin Agile Scrum Master certification. Before I start this new section, I want to share how Agile Scrum Master really shaped my career pathway. After I completed my PMP, the Project Management Professional certification, I feel like these contents are exactly the high demand expression in most of the job description. By using this agile expression, it really helped me to polish myself as a professor. And it is a crucial way for you to secure and job offer and negotiate a decent salary rates with the human resources. So keep moving forward, thinking about how these contents can be used during your career path, and let us become a Scrum Master professional in such a competitive market. And we always say product backlog, but how can we identify the product backlog? What is the detail of each backlog? How long we should take for each backlog? And how can we prioritize the backlog order? And you do have a plenty of questions, and let us sort it out in the next couple of slides. And the common criteria is the DEP of the DEEO technique. Specifically, we need to appropriately detail the backlog content. Then we need to estimate the story point. And identify its immersion level. Then we can prioritize all backlogs. But since the prioritized one has some different meanings in the enterprises and the companies, so later on we prefer to use another like order to replace the prioritize. Then it adjusts the technique dip to DEEO. If you have the experience in using some agile tools like Trello or Jira Conference from Atlassian, you may be familiar with this flow. As normally we put a big user story as the epic, since it could be one of our milestones. It was quite big, and technically the developers may have no ideas about how to achieve these milestones, as it's just a big picture. It was quite big. For example, if we want to streamline the system operation flow, I just writing down streamline the system operation flow. Can you see this epic could be a milestone, as it's a big picture. You don't know exactly how we can achieve it. What's our daily basis task we have to do? We have no idea. But if we take it approximately 4 weeks and we break down this to the small backlogs with details, then the developers may have a clear instruction of what feature should they do in a week. And also, let's go in depth breakdown. We can have our backlogs assigned to complete it in a daily basis. Then we have more detailed backlogs. So as you can see, do not just talk about a big dream. As a Scrum Master, we need to facilitate the team to focus on the small but detailed backlogs. Then our dream, that epic, will finally come true. Before we continue the next topic, you may have one question here. Once we determine all sprint backlog, is it still possible to adjust and refine the backlogs? And the answer is certainly yes. If there are other good ways to achieve the milestone, we don't mind to refine and adjust the backlog during the sprint. As what we say, we always welcome change if that is reasonable and acceptable. And the product owner is accountable for the refinement. Developers support the product owner to refine the backlog, to provide the technical advice as they know how to achieve the technical sustainability during the sprint. And most importantly, they can identify the dependencies and relationships among backlogs that we have to complete it on the same time. Right, so let's summarize the way that product owner do backlog refinement. They may add newly discovered items to the product backlog list. Also, we order the most important items on the top. And then we size all of the backlogs appropriately. Then we do the backlog decomposition to decompose the big epic to the small workable user stories. This is how the business analyst and the project manager, they will collaborate with each other to complete the very detailed project requirement documents for the developers to have a look at. And the final one is that we work with the developers to determine the backlog dependencies. So that could be a way for us to avoid the time waiting other dependencies to be completed. When we attempt to level the product backlog items, there is one technique we could use. This could also use in your interview. If the interviewer asks you, how do you do for your time management? You could say that I completed something that must have and should have. And for those could and won't have, I would just prefer to do it later if I have time, and then I will integrate and iterate the essential minimum viable products later on if I still have the time to hit the timeline. And there is another technique for you to gather and collect the business requirement. It's like the user story. So if you are a business analyst or data analyst, most of the time you are decomposite the business requirement, system requirement, and analytical requirement. So the way you gather requirement could be like, as a stakeholder, like user, or as a stakeholder, the admin, I want to, for example, I want to see the invoice billing procedure, so that I need to then here we can say, so that I need to invoice billing functions for the accountant and finance people to use. And this is the way we collect the requirements. And based on the requirements, we can treat this user story as the epic or the workable backlog. That really depends on how difficult it will be achieved. And here are some of the templates that we always use for our user story to collect the business requirements. And there is one tool that I strongly recommend you to use that is called Miro, and it's for the remote agile team to stick all user stories on a board. So you can list out all of the user stories in the Miro, the digital board. And once you complete the user stories, you can just take it out. And once you take every user story out, that means the project you probably completed in a very good way. Right, so these are pretty much the things that I would like to share for today. So I'll see you later, and I'll give you more insights about how an Agile Scrum Masters can boost your career performance. I see you then.